Hi, Michelle Glass here. Welcome to our first episode of our digestive system. This is our chapter 24, lecture 24 series. So let's just start with the functions of the digestive system. We all know this pretty well. So obviously, the digestive system is all about getting nutrients to the body. So we have to get the food into the body, we have to digest it. We'll see that we have both mechanical and chemical types of digestion. So we'll see that these are working together. As part of this, then, our digestive system does have the job of making both enzymes and hormones that are important in coordinating this process. And the digestive system also has the role of absorbing those nutrients, getting them from the GI tract into the bloodstream, and then, of course, eliminating waste materials. As we look at the pathway of food, we see, of course, the start of our complicated digestive tube is the mouth, and that is where digestion will begin. We'll see both mechanical and chemical digestion happening here. So as you work that food stuff around in the mouth and you get it mixing with the saliva, we're going to start calling it a bolus. So the bolus means that some digestion has already started. It's at that phase that you swallow it into your throat. So that tube is, of course, the pharynx. We've already talked about that as being shared with the respiratory system. From the pharynx, the bolus will move through the esophagus into the stomach. And in the stomach, then we see the bolus mixes with hydrochloric acid, continues both mechanical and chemical digestion here, and that mixing of the bolus with the hydrochloric acid changes the name of this food stuff, and now we call it chyme. So that's spelled C-H-Y-M-E. Chyme will then move from the stomach into the small intestine, from the small intestine into the large intestine. There we see that's really our waste material. So we can describe the job of the large intestine as compacting and storing fecal material. So we're going to call it feces once it gets here. And then, of course, the anus is going to be the exit route for this long, super complicated, highly specialized tube, which is our digestive tract. Now, a lot of us think about our stomach as, the key organ for the digestive system, but really the star of the show is the small intestine. The small intestine is having the job of finishing digestion and absorbing those nutrients. The stomach then is really like a holding tank. And so we'll see that as you can shovel in a large meal into your mouth, hold it in your stomach, and then the stomach is going to release small amounts of that chyme into the small intestine. So like over a period of, say, 4 hours, you can be digesting and absorbing the nutrients from that one meal. The large intestine then, again, its job is really twofold: reabsorption of water, and then it's kind of saying the same thing as compaction of the fecal material. So it's being compacted because you're reabsorbing water. We'll see that there are important bacteria that live in your gut, in your large intestine, and they are actually important in helping us to get certain nutrients from our food. So we do see that there's a difference in our gut flora person to person, and that also means that there's a difference in the types of nutrients that we're obtaining from our food, which is pretty interesting. So you'll see some absorption of nutrients happening here, but it's not really your body doing the digesting. It's your bacteria doing the digesting. And then, of course, the anus, we've said, is the exit route. As we look at our GI tract, gastrointestinal tract, we will see there's some commonality in structure, but then it is specialized as we go from tube to tube to tube. Your basic layout would be innermost layer is called your mucosa. Then we have the submucosa. We have a muscular layer. And then our outermost layer is called the serosa. So let's look at each of these in just a little bit of detail. All right, so the lumen would be, of course, the inside of your digestive tract. and the mucosa is immediately surrounding that. Now, the mucosa is composed of epithelial tissue, and then you have some connective tissues as well. The epithelial tissue is, of course, providing protection, and then it's also involved in secretion as well as absorption of nutrients. When we look at places that experience a lot of abrasion, we are going to line those parts of the tract with stratified squamous, because, of course, that's the best protective epithelial tissue. So the lining of your mouth, pharynx, esophagus, and your anal canal are all lined with the stratified squamous epithelium. As we get into stomach, small and large intestine, these are areas where secretion is happening on a large scale, and in the small intestine, absorption of those nutrients is also happening on the large scale. And so the simple columnar epithelial tissue is found lining those spaces. As part of the mucosa, you have what's called the Muscularis Mucosae, where the AE is the plural form of the word. This is a thin layer of smooth muscle that can actually alter the shape of that lumen. So remember, our digestive tract, it's not going to be this full, complete circle. You're going to have lots of folding. I can't really do that with my hands to increase surface area, but there's a lot of movement that's happening there. So you're really making sure that that mucosal lining has good contact with all of that food stuff. So whether it's bolus or chyme. The next layer is the submucosa. This will be important in binding the mucosal layer to the muscular layer, which is our next layer. You also have here a submucosal plexus, which is talking about an important nerve network. That next layer is our muscular layer, and we already know that it's smooth muscle that is going to be controlling the movements in our digestive tract. We see this smooth muscle is important in the esophagus, the stomach, the small, and the large intestine. This kind of movement is really regulated in large part by that branch of our nervous system that we introduced at the beginning of the semester called the enteric nervous system, which we've abbreviated as ENS. Now, when we talk about the movements happening in the digestive tract, we have two kinds. We have movement for propulsion, so that means to get that food stuff from the mouth, down the esophagus, to the stomach, through the small intestine, through the large intestine, and then out the anus. And then we have a mixing kind of movement that's helping to break up the material, so physically mix it, meaning breaking it up, but also helping to combine it with the chemicals that are important in the digestion. The movement for propulsion is called peristalsis, and I'm going to try to represent that here. So I'm going to be careful not to get it in the computer, because you know I'm clumsy. So I just have a bag of water. And what I want to do here, oh, no, wrong one. I have a packet of lemon juice. You can think about this with toothpaste too, right? So I'm going to open up my lemon juice. And I'm going to squeeze it in. So my peristalsis is going to be squeeze, 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 right? So that's pretty much how you get your toothpaste out in the mornings. And hopefully at night too. Okay, I did get a little bit of a mess, so I got to clean that up. Okay, so hopefully you can see this kind of movement here, and the drawing changes as well. Okay, our second type of movement is called segmentation. Your segmentation movement is more of a churning, so that's where I wanted to illustrate my baggie with water in it. So I am going to drop a little bit of food dye into my bag. Oops, get bigger maybe. Okay. I've got some food dye into my bag, and of course the process of diffusion is helping to mix that to some extent. But segmentation would be like Mix, 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 mix. Okay, not sure how well that worked on the video, but I'm hoping we were a success. All right, so here we can see that in my drawings too. Okay, the outer layer of the digestive tract is going to be the serosa. So this is going to be the outermost layer of that tract. Okay, and that's it for now.